look at them for regular decision too, correct?
Absolutely. The majority of our applicants come through in regular decision. We generally bring in about approximately 1/3 of our class early, sometimes a little bit more. This past year, we had a bit more, about an overall acceptance rate of about 22%. I think as you get more granular in the data, I think it's important to highlight that our recruited athletes are coming through our early decision program. So if you were to take athletes out, you're looking at a very similar acceptance rate for non-athletes. But again, the majority, of our class is coming through the regular decision program.
Okay, great. So there's many different options, but the early process is a great way to demonstrate interest too, and enjoy the rest of your senior year as well.
Yes.
Very important.
Which is so important. It's so important, and unfortunately doesn't always happen. But I guarantee those candidates, when they step foot on their college campus in September, they're not going to be thinking about the college application process. I hope they're thinking about their senior year and how they've been prepared for their next journey.
Yeah, I wish I could say that, but my inbox does not say that. I have a lot of seniors anxious right now. It's going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. So many Ivy League colleges offer pre-college summer programs. So does Brown University pre-college summer program, it's been around for a long time, does the attendance of attending your Brown University pre-college program give students an advantage over others in admissions? Because sometimes the go-getter students early on go like, oh, I have to do the Brown University pre-college program because I really want them to see me and know that I'm a true, great future student for them.
Yeah, that's a great question. My quick answer would be no, not necessarily. I think the advantage really goes to the student here, in that students have the ability to exist on our campus, to live in our residence halls, interact with faculty, engage with both current students as well as the other Summer at Brown pre-college students. And I think that in turn helps them develop a confidence to maybe apply early or maybe not, or to prepare stronger supplemental responses as they discuss why they want to be at a place like Brown. And so that's really the advantage to participating in one of those programs. We have to be very mindful of equity, access, inclusion, and sort of leveling the playing field in the admission process. And that's one of those lines that you have to teeter. Not everyone's going to have the ability to participate in a pre-college program, even if they want to, or even if they're admitted. It might be financial, it might be travel, whatever the resources might be. And so it would be really unfair to disadvantage students that didn't have the ability to participate in that. And so again, my feeling is that the advantage goes to the student in helping them prepare and craft their story through their application, but not necessarily giving them a leg up in the admission process on our end.
Yeah, and I want to echo that many other highly selected colleges would repeat the exact same message. I think a lot of times students, program their high school careers and forget about their passion and their love, and not developing those wonderful textures of who they are. But at the same time, like you said, those supplementals, which is those campus-specific essay questions where a lot of seniors will see on many different college applications, it'll help, them develop those stories. But really, I push a lot of pre-college programs, but not to get into for admissions, but to develop your own story, to develop your ideas of who you are. And that's why so many colleges develop that. And if you can't, I've found so many great stories of students who work at home because they're taking care of their grandparents or have a job, bagging groceries at the store. And that's also a great layer to their story, just as well as if they went to like a Brown University pre-college program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That long-term commitment and the impact that those experiences have on your life can be shared in just a compelling way. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so many Ivy League colleges offer an amazing range of undergraduate majors where students can study and, develop into to graduate, to get into their careers. Are there some majors at your campus that are more selective than others?
Great question. I'm going to speak. This answer is really going to be in the context of Brown And so what I would say is that ultimately when we're admitting applicants to Brown, we're admitting them to what we sometimes like to call Brown the college. They're admitted into the undergraduate university, the college, and they have the freedom to explore in what we call the open curriculum. And I'm sure we'll probably get to that in a little bit. And so we're not really admitting them specifically to programs. Now, that's not to say that that's the case for all the Ivies, and it's certainly not the case for other places I've worked where students are not only being admitted to specific majors, but they're also being admitted into a particular college within the university. I think Cornell would be a great example of being admitted into, maybe the college for agriculture, and then, you're selecting your major and so on. And so for Brown, no, I think what ends up happening is where we see a lot of interest, we might look more closely at a candidate and to extract the texture that's most compelling. For example, I represent Northern California, and the number of computer scientists, aspiring computer scientists, in that area is much greater than, let's say, Northeast Pennsylvania, where I also represent. And so I might be looking at computer science applicants maybe a bit differently, seeing what they've achieved and where that interest comes. But in the end, 75%, I think that's the statistic right now, 75% of Brown undergraduates will graduate with a concentration different from that which they included in their application. So really we're just admitting students into the college and letting them explore.
Great. And that even pushes more students that they could either call any admissions office when they see a representative, or just send out an email saying, hey, do you have some competitive majors? Because like you said, even within the Ivies or for within different colleges, that question about if you're getting into the campus or getting into your major may vary from campus to campus.
Yeah, it's ever important to keep track of that information. However you organize yourself, whether it's, Google Docs or, Excel spreadsheets at home, whatever method of organization works best for you, you want to, definitely employ that through this process, because some of these programs also have different deadlines. And that's another piece here where you have, you might need to submit an early application to be considered, or a priority deadline. Those are important considerations. You don't want to miss out on those. So certainly keep track of everything.
Yeah, that's a one great way to reduce stress, organization. I had this one student had this huge spreadsheet. She made it in a poster, so it was over her bed. So she knew how to organize it. I said she had a career in college counseling if she ever wanted to do it. So now, what do you see the future of Ivy League colleges and the admissions? Because admission rates for the Ivy Leagues, pretty much almost all of them are single digits right now. And so, I know that a lot of representatives from all the Ivy Leagues are wanting making sure that students know that the Ivy Leagues are accessible. But when they hear these articles and news of these admission rates, a lot of students, some will get excited. They're like, ooh, I want to get in there, or others will be like, oh, there's no way they're going to look at me. So what, if you had a crystal ball, what do you see that, what's moving towards the future?
That is a great question. And I wish my crystal ball had a better answer. I conduct a little, I guess we could call it an experiment, some research of my own when I am speaking with prospective applicants. And I'll just ask generally, and I'll say, just be honest with me. I don't know any of you. I'm not judging you, but how many of you here plan to apply to all 8 Ivies? And it's shocking, and it's not shocking how many students raise their hands.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask, okay, well, why? And it's like, well, I'm just going to see where I might stick. And so I think that more and more this idea of just hoping to get in is certainly increasing applications, when the reality is a place like Brown University couldn't be any more different than a place like Columbia, whether it's talking about the difference of Providence in New York City, or having no core curriculum, to priding yourself on one of the oldest cores that every graduate has gone through. And so the numbers keep rising. And yes, of course, it's in our best interest, and we want to share the good word and the good work of our institutions through our website and our marketing materials. But often the number of spaces that we have never goes up. We've been admitting a class of 1,665 students for a very long time. our application numbers keep going up. The common application made it much easier for applicants to apply, and so we saw a huge spike when we became a member. And so again, year after year, these numbers keep going up. We had an 8% increase in applications this year. That's remarkable. It just makes the competition more competitive. And so my hope is that institutions of higher education, the Ivies, Ivy Plus, all institutions will continue to be transparent and I show the types of students that are the best fit for those institutions, and that students will also do their research and identify the places that are the best fit for them and apply to those colleges and universities. It's tough to say where things will go, but that's just some insight into what I'm thinking and with the future of selective admission.
No, and I can hear in your tone, it's like, there's some hardship on there, and it's not so much from you because you're reading thousands and thousands and thousands of applications because, college representatives are like the hardest working people I know. But I think it's more of that, students have to forget. And I think it's not sometimes just the students, it could be parents and communities and saying like, this is about fit. It's about a marriage between a student and a college and how that relationship's going to really benefit both parties. And when we could get out of the brand name game and versus into the relationship and the mission of that student and that campus, then we got a beautiful love story that could happen there, whether it's an Ivy League school or not. And hopefully over time that would change. And I know the Ivy Leagues have been so transparent over time. But also because of the huge volume has intimidated some other individuals too. So researching the schools and researching them not by the name, but by the core of who they are and what they're all about and how that really blends well for you is key.
Yeah, a wonderful former colleague of mine also gave me some really great advice in working with prospective students. And he shared with me, he said, what I always tell students to do if they're on campus, if they have the ability to be on a campus, is just go to the center of the quad, go to a nook, and just sit there and take in the life of that institution and develop a gut feeling, or try to. Maybe it doesn't exist, and that's okay. That's very telling as well. But try to develop a gut feeling of that institution and how it becomes a fit for you. That is that less tangible piece that can make such a big difference. There are so many incredible institutions out there, institutions that your students and students across the world will be so happy to be a part of, and I think it's just about finding that, and it's not always easy, but it really is a beautiful love story when it all aligns.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I don't mean to dismiss the college tours, but a lot of times people focus so much on, I call it like, be careful just getting stuck with the stucco building tours, right? Like being in the quad, speaking to the person that's behind the counter, serving your Starbucks, who is a college student from that campus, checking out a game, going to one of the evening shows, if that's that option. And if not, with the World Wide Web and social media, you could reach out to another alumni and say, how was your experience, from that?
Right.
But it's that gut feeling, right? It is so important.
Absolutely.
So talking about a love story, there's a lot of people who love Brown because you guys offer a unique perspective on general ed courses, which sometimes I tell students, like, think about your high school course, but a whole bunch of options and different opportunities, right? And you make sure that you have that for your undergraduate students. So can you let our listeners know about your open curriculum that you mentioned about earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. The open curriculum is the second most important reason I chose to work at Brown. The first being its commitment to diversity and inclusion. But I just think the open curriculum is such a remarkable opportunity for students. I think the quick definition of the open curriculum, in my opinion, would be that there's no core curriculum, no general distribution requirements, and students can really take courses in any academic discipline at any time in their undergraduate experience.